on today's video, I'm going to be checking out Alex Lifeson's interview with Rick Beato. Now, I've already watched the Getty one, and we will get round to doing, forgive me on the pronunciation, Anita? I forget the drummer's name, the drummer that they're using at the moment, the girl. But we will get round to doing hers as well. And I can't wait for this because, obviously, being a guitarist myself, I'm sure Alex has got some great stories on how he wrote some of the riffs and where some of the songs came from, how he made certain solos. And there's another thing that's good about it. Rick always manages to ask good questions. Rick's actually someone I've been quite motivated by recently this past couple months because it's actually ever since doing these reactions that you guys actually introduced me to Rick Beato by saying you should check out his interview and whatnot. And one thing he does, he asks good questions. I think we can all agree. Not just the basic generic questions that 1,000 of other interviewers have already done. So that's what's fascinating about him, and it comes from a real music brain. I'm actually thinking some of the videos he does as well, like his opinions on specific things, I want to try and do myself somewhere along the line. So yeah, if you guys are interested in that and not just reactions, then be sure to hit that subscribe button, because I'm going to be doing certain things like reviewing music pedals, like guitar pedals, and giving my opinion on specific things in the music industry. So hit that subscribe button to not miss those type of videos. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I got myself a brew. Hit that like button and let's get into this.
What is the Alex Lifeson chord? Do you know what I'm talking about if I say that?
Yeah. I guess it kind of goes like this.
Yes. Okay, isn't it interesting that people actually call it that?
Yeah, it is. I mean, somebody else must have played it before me.
That's the first place I heard it. I heard it on the radio on WCMF when I heard Xanadu. I heard that chord, and I was like, what is that? It just blew me away. And I mean, I had to go figure it out. I was like, I have no idea what that is.
F sharp suspended fourth, or
I don't know. It's something like F sharp 7 sus 4.
Sus 4. Okay,
that's exactly what it is. With a third. So it's. I mean, sometimes we call it a F sharp 7 add 4.
I just call it the Lifeson chord.
That's it. The Lifeson chord is great.
But you know what? It came from.
Yes. Get into that in Xanadu. There's that whole sequence where you're using all those drone strings.
Yeah. So they're not complete bar chords. They're just open.
But you actually have so many cool chords like that. Like in La Via Strangiato, you have that dun dun. Yes. That's just beautiful.
That chord's in another song actually, and you guys might know about it, which is fascinating. Let me see how he's doing that, because I think I know that chord from another song.
They're just open.
But you actually have so many cool chords like that. Like in La Via Strangiato, you have that dun dun. Yes.
Let's have a look at this. So you're on the 8th fret. Okay, that's a strange chord, but if you notice, same kind of position. Check this out. If you guys know this, that's the you know, the Killers. You know that song starts off with that very cool chord. You sit there in your heartache. Stuff like that, very fascinating for us guitar players, because it's nice to just tinker around and try and find specific chords that you feel like no one's ever played before. I've actually got one in particular, but let's not get into it right now.
That's just beautiful.
No one at the bridge. from Crusted Steel. How did that chord go?
I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Getty, my
Okay.
first question. So you're going to embark on this tour and everything,
Yes.
of all these songs. How many of the songs do you remember how to play right off the bat, not having played them in 10 years?
See, that's a good question.
You know, I played pretty consistently over that time. Did the Envy of None projects that were really a lot of fun. Very different guitar approach
Yep.
to those. But when we started really getting serious about going back to the Rush material, I kind of forgot how hard they were, because really I never thought of them as being that difficult. They were just natural for me. I know when I'm coming up with stuff, I often take the easiest route that sounds the most difficult, and I think a lot of guitarists
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
I've listened to guitar players and I think, how, like Adam Jones, for example, how does he play that? And then you kind of figure it out, or he shows you if you're
Right.
lucky enough.
Yeah.
And you go, oh my God, that's way simpler than I thought. Yet it sounds really complex. Despite trying to make it easy, it was a real learning curve. You know, you rely on muscle memory for
Do you
a
ever
lot
go
of it.
back and look at videos of you playing live to see what you're doing?
I have
Yeah.
done. Yes, I have. Yeah.
YouTube's good for that, actually.
I guess they have lots of stuff on YouTube.
They do have a few things on there.
Yeah, it's kind of cheating, I guess, if you actually wrote the thing. But yeah, I might have checked.
You have probably, I don't know, 15 guitars, 20 guitars or so that you're going to be
Yeah.
touring with, something like that.
Yeah.
This particular guitar, you picked out of there. You could have picked any guitar.
Yeah.
Why did you pick that guitar?
This has been my go-to for a lot of the stuff that requires a nice, big, solid Les Paul sound. It's a custom shop Tobacco Sunburst 1960 reissue. I have vintage guitars. In my case, the stuff that I bought new in the 70s are now vintage guitars
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah.
But I do
Yeah.
have some stuff from the 50s, and I have a 58 ES335, which is...
This is one question I was asking on one of my reactions I did. People go on about these guitars from the 50s, this 59 Les Paul, which is an astonishing, like, you couldn't get one for less than £500,000. And then you've got, like the 64 Stratocasters and whatnot. At the time, if you had a 64 Strat, it was just that year's 64 Strat. And is the same going to happen now? Oh my God, I've got a 2022 Fender Strat hanging. Am I going to say in 2070, oh, not me, but a kid's going to be saying in 2070, oh my God, imagine getting your hands on a 2022 Fender Strat. Like, is it... Is it just everyone jumping on the bandwagon going, honestly, the difference is... Or is there any difference? You'd think that the guitars are just getting better as the years are going on. And actually, having a Fender Stratocaster from today is going to be better than from the 60s and 70s. I don't know. What do you guys reckon? I'm talking objectively here, because I actually have never played an old guitar. But I can't imagine old guitars being better than new ones. Like, if Fender came to me or Gibson and said, you can have a brand new one we're going to make for you, your own. Everything you want, we'll add all the expensive stuff, not the cheap pickups, the expensive volume knob, blah, the expensive tuning pegs, all this. Would you want a brand new one, or do you want one from the 50s? I'd say a brand new one, please. Like, but maybe I'm an idiot because I haven't played the old ones, but I don't know why I wouldn't want a brand new one. What do you guys reckon? Let me know.
Quite awesome. And I've had some Les Pauls, but I've always believed that the new stuff is great. It's new, and they're tools. And you make
Dude,
them
I
sound-
have not... Oh, mate, he just took the words out of my mouth. I need to go back.
5, which is quite awesome. And I've had some Les Pauls, but I've always believed that the new stuff is great. It's new, and they're tools, and you make them sound like you want them to sound.
Yes.
So I've never been sort of precious about vintage stuff like Getty is, for example. I mean, he's a collector. He's a collector of a lot of different things, but a lot of his bass collection is all vintage stuff. This guitar, I think, sounds awesome.
Sounds
and
great.
They do such great work at the custom shop. Kurt Hammett got me one of the greenies, and it's amazing the work they did on it. It looks so authentic, and that thing sounds great. I mean, these guitars all sound really, really, really good.
Yeah.
So this is the one that sounds great. I've been playing it a lot. It feels good. So that's the one I went to.
When you were writing new songs for different records, like when you got your double neck and stuff like that, did you get the double neck to write new music with, or because you had to play them live, or like how did that work exactly?
Well, the double neck, there's no way I got that to write songs on. That guitar is so heavy.
Yeah.
Its purpose is two songs, Something for Nothing and Xanadu.
Yeah.
Both with Ricky's and my 1275, they're iconic to that song in particular.
That's right.
But 80% of the writing that I've done is on a Telly, a 52 Telly reissue that I got in 1980. Can I just grab it?
Absolutely.
Can you hang on to this for a second?
Yeah, no problem.
So you got to check this
Hell
out.
yeah, I can hold it.
So, here. Just, the way it sits.
That is such a cool place to be in. Look, I give nothing but respect to Rick to where he's got. How cool is that? 1 minute you're just starting off. Obviously he's had a great career himself, but now he's just chilling amongst the stars. 2 seconds. This is ridiculous. I'm not editing this just for that. But yeah, that's actually unreal. I love that. Fair play, Rick.
In your lap.
Beautiful.
It feels so nice, right?
Yes.
And there's no weird balance thing. And the neck, I took all the finish off the neck.
That's really nice
So it's
that you
just
did that.
bare wood.
Yeah,
And
it
to
feels
clean it
good.
up, I just used some 400 sandpaper, run it back and forth a few times.
Yeah.
And it just gives me, I feel connected to the guitar. It's served me so well.
The setup on this is great too.
Yeah, it feels
These
really nice.
10s, right? We were just talking about that.
10s to 46 lately.
Yeah.
I might have something heavier on there. I might have 49s or maybe 52. I don't think it's 52.
Yeah,
but
it feels like...
I used to put 52s on here because I liked
Actually,
it.
it feels like a heavier bottom on here.
Yeah.
It actually does,
Yeah, I liked it on that guitar. But now that I'm so much older and my fingers complain a lot more, I've gone to 46s, so...
What did you used to use historically? Did you use 11s or something like that?
No,
Or would you use
always
like
10s. I give them the very early days, 9s.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
When you say the early days, up until when?
Probably up until the 80s, 1980s.
I tell people, younger players, I say, a lot of guys, and they grew up, I'm almost 64, would use 8s and 9s back in the days in the 70s. That was common.
Billy Gibbons,
And
ZZ Top.
Yeah, very common. Because
Yeah.
you wanted to
use
bend
the
those
sevens.
strings and you wanted the action as low as you could go and have the guitar fast as possible.
I know a lot of guitar players are watching this, and you know what they're talking about. But just for those who may have not know what he's going on, the lower the number, the lighter the string, so the easier it is to bend. So if it's a 7, it's going to be easier for you to bend. If it's an 11, it's going to be more tough.
Fast as possible.
Yeah.
I think, there's arguments for the tonal quality in a heavier gauge. Just they ring differently and they sing differently. I've been kind of messing around with different gauges now, like 46, 49, 50, 52. I didn't even think you could get those kind of odd gauges. And I wonder, are they smart? Like, do they have the frequency that's correct for the standard tuning? I'm not sure. It sounds okay. I think it's okay. But I wonder about that. If, that just that 1 degree difference changes the tonality or the harmonics, the higher harmonics particularly. Do you want me to get rid of this?
Yeah.
Or-
I don't want you to get rid of it. I want you to actually keep it. So what kind of rig were you playing as far as your guitar amp and guitars, like in the first few records?
Yeah, well, even before the first records, when we were playing clubs here in Toronto,
Yep.
at high schools from kind of probably 1970 to 74, I had a Marshall 50-watt head,
Okay.
which I traded in, I think in 1975 or 76, much to my deep regret. And I had a Marshall cabinet, just and I rented it. I rented it from a place called Kahlua Music.
Okay.
And I rented it for years, maybe 2 years before.
You paid for it about 10 times.
Before I bought it out. After, yeah, I definitely paid for it 10 times.
I really hope he goes into this, his foot pedals and those acoustics in the back.
Over. When we signed our deal with Mercury Records in 1974, we got an advance, and we went shopping. It was the most exciting day to go to a music store. We went to Larry McQuaid's here in Toronto, a long-time music store, and I used to go there as a kid, and I'd go on Saturday, and I'd take down a Les Paul or a 335, or sometimes an SG, and sit on an amp and play for an hour until one of the salesmen came over and said, "Okay, beat it, kid, get out of here." And I'd come back the next week and I would do the same thing, and they'd let me play for an hour, and then it was, "Beat it, kid, get out of here." And I did that almost every weekend. So to go back there and have like an open-ended checkbook, I bought a couple of guitars. I bought a Les Paul. I bought a 335, another 335, and I bought a couple of Marshall stacks. So they were 100-watt Marshall stacks and 4 cabinets. And Getty got his SVTs, 2 SVTs and 2 cabinets, and we would split them. You know, one stack
one
on
each
my
side.
side,
Yeah,
one
on
stack
the
on
other.
his, and same for
with
the bass. So we could be
man.
extremely loud and dirty.
Yes.
Dude.
I had that rig. I used that rig. I had a very simple. I think I had a Crybaby and a Maestro phase shifter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was kind of a phasey, almost pre-chorusy kind of thing.
Yeah.
I never, I had a fuzz face in the early days, but I never really got into doing that kind of distortion. I was also always really moved by Pete Townsend and how he would, roll off the volume pot on his rhythm stuff. So there was clarity, and it was heavy, but it was at the same time it was clear and kind of just held back, reserve, and then he turned it up for any soloing, and I kind of followed that process. So I never really bothered with a fuzz tone or a distortion pedal. I think after maybe a year or almost 2 years, I traded the Marshalls in for high watts.
Okay.
And I had the high watts for a while.
Like a custom 50 or something, or a custom 100?
Hundreds, yeah.
Okay. Same thing, 2 stacks?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I really loved the way they sounded because they had the size and clarity.
Yes. Yeah.
Not quite as brittle as the Marshalls were back then. And eventually, I think around 1978 or 79, I saw Alan Holdsworth in London playing a club gig. And he was using the Marshall Twin 12, and I got 4 of those.
Okay.
Yeah. So through moving pictures, permanent waves, for those years and a few years following, that was my basic setup.
What were the pedals that you added during that period?
Okay, so I had an
Nice.
Echoplex.
Okay.
For sure, I had an Echoplex earlier on.
Yep.
And I had that until I got
There's
a roll.
literally so many guitar nerds listening to that interview just going, right, this is how you get the sound. I've asked this question, how do you get the Alex sound? Because he has got a very clean but dirty sound going on. And it does make sense that he said he was using that phase, because it does kind of sound like he said chorusy, where it's kind of spacey going on.
So that was, rack mounted and made it a lot easier. Didn't have to worry about the tape and chewing tape up and all of that stuff. And then I got a rack and I started filling the rack out with TC 2290?
2290, yeah.
I had a couple of those, and I had a TC Electronics 1210 for chorus.
Yeah.
I had a loft for a time for delay, even though it was a very, very short delay.
Yeah.
And for chorus, I liked the loft for chorus in those early days too. When we were recording Farewell to Kings, I rented a JC 120 Roland with the built-in chorus, the stereo chorus.
Yeah.
That's when I became addicted to chorus, and really I used chorus on almost everything for years. And I was thinking about it the other day. Kind of Andy Summers and I sort of discovered it around the same time, and it became quite identifiable with our style of playing or recording. And I remember being in the studio and just, after hours sitting in front of that amp, maybe a little puff or something, but sitting in front of the amp and listening to that chorus stereo going back and forth, it takes me back just even talking about it, how creamy and beautiful and evocative that sound was. Now, I've been using Fractal for
a while.
Yeah, in the last tour, I used a rack-mounted Fractal unit, and for a couple tours, I've got the Axe 3, and I just love it. The quality of all the effects are great. I'm running in stereo. They've been so incredibly supportive, and really, really wonderful to work with. You, I'm sure you know Matt, and they're just really, really great. And I love their equipment. So I'm quite happy with that. And I'm down from all those Marshalls and High Watts and H&K, Hughes and Kettner, and all of those things down to the Tonex.
Which was an amp.
They took all my amps that I had in storage, and I think they kept them for almost 2 years. They did all the modeling for the Tonex. When they sent this to me, and I listened to it, I really wasn't sure what to expect. Because quite often these plugins and this sort of technology prior to this generation always felt like it was two-dimensional. It was just pasted on a window. There was no depth, and everything sounded kind of tight and compressed. And even working, with recording, a lot of those plugins sounded like that too. Now, I guess with the advent of AI helping with a lot of this.
The machine learning and stuff to make those things.
Now they sound like the greatest amps ever. There's depth in the bottom end. There's real character. I mean, it's not just the fuzziness and the noise that you get from an amp. It just responds beautifully, and different level changes, they just sound great. So, I worked closely with them on the Tonex, and they, came up with my package, and Nick Raskulinitz and I sat, and you saw that video.
Yeah.
We
You know what, guys? This is one thing I will say. What he's getting at here about the AI and how, it's making, it didn't sound amazing, but now in this generation it is. There is definitely two sides to the coin of AI. I'm not a fan of it. If we had to have it or we couldn't have it, I'd say get rid. There is obviously some pros to it, what he's saying. And you know what? More than anything, it's the convenience. Like, you could have all these million sounds into one small little pedal, whereas back then that you saw the equipment that was just on screen, these big heavy equipments. It's heavy to maneuver for the roadies. Now you got to pay more roadies to move this stuff. Then it's obviously bulky, so you got to pay for more trucks to have it on. When you've got now, it's a little AI board with a couple of things on it, and it sounds just as good. And you can put it in your own little rucksack. No roadies required. Just one little guitar tech for you and whatnot. It's very convenient for those things, and that's why you won't see that go back to the way it was. It's unfortunate because, there is something about, an amplifier, like he says, the fuzz, letting it warm up, they look cooler and all this. Like, it's a real catch-22. AI, I'm not about it. Like I say, if we could get rid of it, or have it, I'd say get rid. But there is little things with it that are convenient, But it doesn't mean it's a good thing, because the problem is there was nothing wrong with the old school way. There's nothing wrong with it. And AI's taking over singers, the voices, It's taking over everything. It's ultimately, I say get rid of it, but it's not going to happen. You can talk about it every day, and it's never going to happen. But when it comes to these little things, you can't deny it's useful.
We were both blown away by how amazing it sounded. So now when I do local gigs, I have a duffel bag and the
What the hell?
and the factor goes in
Alex, you
there.
have like the simplest setup here. This is so.
Anyone would think I'd actually seen it. I promise, guys, I ain't seen this. But it's like every time I say something, he's going where I know he's going, basically.
Simple, but there's so many different sounds in there.
Yeah, when we got the kind of the playlist of the songs that we were going to play, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could just go back and emulate all those guitar sounds that I had from those records. You know, you get a great guitar sound on stage on a tour, and you maybe have a dirty channel, a clean channel, and maybe like a hot channel. So you have those three, and it works kind of for everything, and it sounds great, blah, 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 blah. But I thought, if I could make the guitar sound from Tom Sawyer sound like that guitar sound, and Limelight, and go through the whole gamut of guitar sounds, wouldn't that be kind of cool?
Yes.
And really interesting to listen
it
to,
would.
and fresh as it changes through the course of the night. It's not just that same thing. I've gone to lots of shows and great guitar players, great guitar sounds, but after an hour and a half, it's like it's the same sound. It's, you know, it's nothing new. But I think keeping it fresh like this is going to be really cool for this tour.
Did you find that as you're writing for each successive record that you were looking for new sounds, but you also had a new vocabulary of parts? Every record there was new kinds of chord voicings and things like that.
Yeah, you know, that's been our principle from the beginning as a band. We never really want to repeat. That's impossible to not repeat yourself, but at least that's the idea. You always want to move forward, and you want to progress in not only the style of music that you play, but as a musician yourself, and how you know the instrument and what your relationship becomes with the instrument. And for me, it was always really challenging with Geddy and Neil being as active as they were. So it forced me to come up with different chords. And I didn't want to repeat them. I didn't want to play that same Alex Lifeson chord for everything. But it forced me to think about what can I do in service of the song? Like, how can I make the song sound the best that it can from the guitar standpoint? Yeah. And a lot of times it's simplifying. When you have two active players who are as great as those two guys are, it's important, I think, to just pull it back a little bit and simplify things. And I've never felt like I had to show off or well, maybe a little bit in those early days. You know, you just got to play as fast as you can. But for me now, and for a long time, it's much more satisfying to just play something that really fits the mood, that reflects what the lyrics are talking about. Limelight, the solo in Limelight is one of my favorites because it's very simple, but it's so emotive.
Yes.
And it's so sad.
Tell me about that solo. You know, as you and Geddy were talking before, that he kind of helps comp things. And
yeah, so I never had a problem with that. It was never that precious to me. I do have a problem in that I lose interest quickly. I'm always moving on.
Yeah.
My best takes are those first few takes. Usually the first take is fiddling with the sound and getting an understanding of how the guitar is going to respond to what I'm playing. Is that the right sound? We tweak it a little bit or whatever. But then it's those couple of takes after, 2 and 3, that I find really are quite expressive for me. 4 is not bad. 5, now I'm starting to lose it. Now I'm just getting repetitive, and I start at the same point, and that bugs me, and then I get it in my head, and so I'll do those 5 takes generally and stop. And I might go back in after we comp and go at it again, but quite often it's those 5 takes. So with Ged, I never had an issue it's mine. You know, he loves doing that kind of stuff. And with Terry, they were a great team.
Yeah.
And they would do all the things that I would want to hear. So with the solo for Limelight, I remember we recorded that it was late at night in the session, after midnight sometime, 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or something. And I think we had the cabinet outside.
Okay.
And we were up in the Laurentians at Le Studio, so no people around.
Yeah.
So we got a natural kind of echo off the hills, the mountains. And I used the Hantor Sportscaster.
Yeah.
Because I had the vibrato arm on it. And
Yeah.
I ran through, I think, 5 takes. And then I left the room, and I left it to them to comp. So there are a couple of things where, it dives down, and it comes right back up, and it picks up. So it became challenging to kind of recreate that for live. But I would not want it any other way, because it expresses that fragility of living that life and being at the center of all these things, and sometimes not really wanting to be. And really that's what Neil was speaking about. And it was such a big thing for him, particularly. So I really wanted that.
It's just crazy. I think we went over this on the Getty interview, but just again, let me keep it brief. What he's saying is, he says, 5 takes. First one he's messing around, 2 or 3, that's where you're really gonna get the best of him, and then 4 and 5 he starts getting bored. I completely agree with that side of things. I'm the same way. To me, recording music's such a boring prospect, but in those circumstances when you've got money and you're going in a studio and someone can do it for you, you can just play the parts and they're fiddling with the bits. I hate that fiddling bit. And obviously with today's world, it's way too expensive to go and record a song. It probably was back then, in fact. It's way too expensive to go and record music, so you got to do it yourself or learn to do it yourself, which I've done. And I hate it. I hate the aspect of recording. I just want them to be done. It takes so long and it's so annoying. So I completely agree with what Alex is saying there. It's just so boring. It's lifeless. It's like, I want to just play the music. I don't want to do this. But another thing, for those again who might not be musicians and you're kind of struggling to see what he's saying by comping, he will play the song. If the solo is 30 seconds long and he starts with, and then he decides to go, and then he does, that's take 1, and then he does, the next time around he goes, and then on the second, and then what happens to comp it, Geddy will go, I liked it when you did the first take of, but I liked the second take of where you was down here and went, and now that's what he's like, I'm not interested in any of that. Geddy's gonna go, okay, I like the first bit, so keep that. And on the third one he did where he was like, keep that. But then what Alex is saying is, well, that's all fun in games, doing what you're doing, but when it came to me coming back in the studio and listening to the solo, now I've got to go, because Geddy's copy and pasting all these bits that are 1 minute he's down here and then the next he's here. So it's like, whoa, my hands are all over the place, but it kept it fun and it keeps it entertaining. I bet that was fun, because he would have then had to go and learn the solo that Geddy has comped from what he's created. That is a cool way of doing things, leaving it in someone else's hands, and like he says, not being too precious about it.
So to reflect that feeling, it's not in the notes. It's not this. It's there's a lack of control in it, because it's bending and it's not stable, and that's kind of how it feels sometimes when you're on the road and you don't feel stable and you feel like you're bending all the time to everything. So I love it when a plan works out, in the right way, the way you intended.
On your finger-picking songs, like Closer to the Heart or The Trees, would you kind of put together little pieces and have these things waiting and like, this might be good for something?
I started playing guitar when I was 12 years old. I started on my brother-in-law's classical guitar. So he was a bit of a flamenco player, and he lent me his guitar, and that's kind of where the seed started. And then the following year, my parents bought me a Kent acoustic guitar, but it was,
It was
like this
actually that high, yes.
It was, I think, it was $9. I begged for an electric, and they bought me a Kenora, which was a Canadian, Japanese-built guitar, which was $59. I remember, and that was my starting electric guitar. When I was, I guess, 17 or 18, I took classical guitar lessons for about a year. A friend of mine, Elliot Goldner, he was an amazing guitar teacher. He was my age. Like, we were friends in school. He was in a motorcycle accident and shattered his leg. So he was in a cast and out of school for a year. So I would go over and I'd get guitar lessons from him. He was teaching. Like, he was an amazing guitarist. And that got me going with this whole discipline of playing classical guitar. And I really liked that for that reason. I would practice so hard, and it is a very difficult thing to play, to master. And I have so much respect for all the great players. After about 10 months or so, we started playing bars. Drinking age was lowered from 21 to 18. Just at that time, we turned 18. So we went from playing, I think, 2 or 3 gigs a month to playing 6 gigs a week, matinees on Saturdays. And it sort of got away from me. When we were writing later on, opportunities came up, like for Pharaoh the Kings. It had a flair to it. We recorded in the courtyard of the studio, and Neil had his bells and Geddy with his line, and the Trees was the same sort of thing. It was just, I guess, because it was so pastoral where we were, that kind of informed that sort of approach. Close to the Heart, that's Geddy's riff, the opening. And it's upstrokes, right? So the way he does
it's very awkward to play, actually.
It's totally awkward to play.
Okay, all right. I'm glad it's not just me.
No,
Alex.
I don't even know if I can play it.
Yes.
It's all upstrokes, which I'm not.
That makes
opposite.
sense
That's
now.
a bass player with his finger.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I thought, screw you.
If you guys might have seen it, I swear I did a video on that one, Closer to the Heart, trying to play it from just hearing it, and I swear I was having trouble with that bit. It was strange. Yeah, dude, I've been down some. Guys, if you're new to this channel, I've been down the Rush rabbit hole, and it's all coming back to me. I've done quite a few songs. Make sure you check out the playlist of me first time reacting to pretty much. Well, no, it's first time reaction to lots of Rush songs. Still a long way to go as well. So, like I say, hit that subscribe button. But I also did a breakdown. Can I figure out Closer to the Heart? It was a difficult one.
And then when we recorded it, played it on the 12 string to give it even more of a magical kind of.
Just to make it more difficult to play, right? I mean,
so
really.
It hurt more. Yeah.
Would Neil sit in when you be doing overdubs and stuff? Would he like to listen, or would he be working on lyrics?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, not all the time, but if he was around, yeah, he would.
Who's the one guy that would always be there if something's going on?
Well, generally, when I'm doing overdubs, there's no one else in the room.
Okay.
I would be in the room. Terry and Paul Northfield, who was recording those records. Even with Nick. Like, Ged might wander in. He likes to be a part of everything. And he's very engaging. He's always engaged, so he always has a comment. Neil was less so. He would come and he would just sort of sit in the back and listen. But, I always much preferred it when I was in the room by myself. I could concentrate. I appreciate that people have ideas and they're only trying to help. But when you're working on something, you want to develop it. Having somebody say, hey, why don't you try? It's the worst thing. Because it takes time to come up with stuff. And then you only have a very short window of performance if you want to capture it, in the best way possible.
Is there anything that you remember where they're like, woo, Alex, that's a great part? Is there anything that you can think of where they said that?
The Garden, for example, we were working at Ged's house on that record.
Good question.
And he was away, and he said, if you want to come over and do some work, just come over and we'll let you in and blah, blah, blah. So he was away. And I came in, and I was just getting caught up on some stuff, guitar stuff. And I got to the garden, and I just put that solo down on the garden. And after I did it, I left, and he came home, and he said, "What the hell did you do? This solo is one of your best solos ever." And I couldn't even remember what I did. I was like, "Oh, really?" Then I listened to it after being away from it for a bit, and I thought, "Oh, yeah, it really speaks for the song." So that we lifted and dropped it into the master tracks, again, from the demo. The same thing happened with Leave That Thing Alone, the solos in Leave That Thing Alone. It has that Celtic kind of feel to it. And
I've not heard
it's
this
just
one.
Sort of.
I haven't heard this one, but don't start talking about Celtic to me, because you'll get me excited. For those who know, medieval Celtic stuff, damn! That's where that's it for me. I love it.
Wild but settled at the same time.
You're really an improviser. I can tell this just from the way that Geddy described you.
Yeah.
That you're really spontaneous, so they better be ready to roll when you sit down with a guitar.
Yeah, because it's easy to lose some good stuff, and that has happened, and I haven't been able to get it back. And that's why we've always worked so well together. I'm that person. I'm that person in everything in my life. I'm just a spontaneous person. I'm a little emotional. I flare quickly and then die down quickly. Just one of those people. And it's particularly in any artistic endeavor, it happens really quickly. My painting is like that too. And whereas Ged is the opposite. He's very methodical. He has to hear everything wrong before he knows it's right. And that's been a really key thing to the way we work. And the things that we write, I tend to write things that maybe were a little rockier and a little more crazy. And he'll write things that are a little more melodic and warmer, and so it's a really, really great combo.
When Geddy would work on the melodies and stuff and be singing stuff, would you and Neil make comments like, "I think the melody should do this," or would Geddy just be really, "No, this is how the melody is"?
Didn't I just tell you about how awful it is having people around telling you what to do? I would never go in a room and do that. I would go in for support, and quite often at the studio, they had a nice couch by the front window away from the mic, to talk back. And I would just sit there, and I would put my feet up and watch, maybe read a magazine and listen. But I would never make a comment about the vocals unless it was like, "Awesome, that's great, that sounds really, really good." I would never provide a direction or something like that. Whereas Neil would, because his lyrics, they had a really good relationship when it came. I don't know if I was a lyricist, how open I would be to that kind of collaboration, because quite often Neil would have a lot of stuff written, and obviously he'd been given a lot of thought. And Ged might say, I like what you're getting at, and I like this line, and the way you phrase these 4 words, can we just start there and just go from there?
Because it might not fit his melody or whatever he had, right?
Or the way he thought he needed to express it. Because he has to make it sound like it's
absolutely
his words. And Neil would always be there, to compromise, to try another direction. Always very, very open. They had a really good relationship.
What he's saying is it makes sense for Neil to butt in sometimes and give his opinion, because he wants the words, he's wrote the words, and he's like, I want them words in. I understand where Geddy's coming from though, and I said this in one of my reactions that I've done to a Rush song, and I said sometimes it does sound like that there's too many words, and it's not a critique. Some people like that. But in my personal opinion, I think sometimes he could have stripped some of the words down in some of the songs. It was almost a mouthful, trying to get too many words in at once. And I think if they would have gone, all right, maybe take that out, take that out, take that out. But it means change. That then means changing. You might interpret the song differently from the lyrics because it's kind of, you start taking words away, it becomes more coy, what you're getting at. And when Neil might have been going, no, I want people to understand this part, so we need the words, need to keep them words. So Geddy's kind of on the fence, like, well, I know what you're saying, but either way, this is what's so great about Rush, the compromise, but sometimes, like Alex is saying here, sometimes you just got to let it roll and keep your opinion to yourself. It's a difficult scenario when you're in it. But I tell you what, it's worth sometimes just biting your tongue because look at how well and look at what career they've got and they're still going. Whereas so many bands, they let the ego get in the way. Where are they now? They're nowhere to be seen. But yeah, I did say, listen, Rush are absolutely amazing. But that was one of the things I thought. Some of the songs, I feel like they have too many lyrics. And it's not a bad thing to say, that's just my opinion. What do you guys reckon? Is there a point to that? Every band is going to have certain things with you. It's not completely to your taste. That was just, I think in a couple songs, I think that is one thing they maybe could have worked on. But again, there's two sides to that coin. I understand why Neil may have gone no. And who am I to say I'm right? You know, it worked. It worked. Look at where they are. And I think that's why sometimes you have to stand on your point, no matter how many people are disagreeing with it, including me. I could have been like Geddy going, I don't know. But Neil's going, I'm standing firm on it. You're singing it. And then, like I say, look where they are. So good. It just goes to... It's a brotherhood. It really is.
And lyricist.
Tell me about the period of records where there are more keyboards. There's an art to coming up with parts that work with really dense keyboard parts.
You know, I always loved the atmospherics. Mm-hmm. I've always been into effects. And for example, in the past, before the second verse, there's a guitar moment that's just layered guitars and volume pedal. And it's a beautiful moment. I love doing stuff like that because it sounds like a keyboard, really.
Yeah.
And when we got to the mid-'80s, when we were doing those dense keyboard records, it was really a challenge for me because, you know, when we recorded those records, the keyboards went before the guitar. And I was sitting around waiting and waiting and waiting to do guitar stuff. And the more keyboard stuff I heard, then the more layers and the more layers and this and this and this and this. It was almost impossible for me to figure out how am I going to fit in here. And by the way, I'm the guitar player in this band. You know, what happened? Did I resent it? Maybe I did a little bit, but I took it as a challenge and it became a task. I had to figure out how I was going to get around this. The frequencies occupied by the keyboards are similar to heavy guitars.
Yep.
So yeah, you can't really take that approach to fit something in. So I switched guitars. Instead of playing like a Les Paul or a PRS, I got a single coil active pickup guitar. Now it was bright, it was very clear, and it could cut through all of that stuff. And that ended up being the primary guitar sound for those records, because that was the only way I felt I could fit in.
What amp were you playing through during that period, or what amps? Do you remember?
I had a lot of stuff in the studio when we would record. Like for the last record, I had 10,000 amps in there because of Nick. You got to try this, man. You got to try this, and he owned most of them. But I think back then I probably had a Fender Twin.
Yep.
I might have had a Marshall 100-watt with a 412 cabinet, as well as the smaller Marshalls.
Maybe like a JCM or something like that. JCM.
Yeah, JCM. Yes. Yeah.
When I interviewed Kevin Shirley, who's a really good friend of mine, Kevin is not one to mince words.
No.
He talked about kind of getting back to playing more rock-oriented things. Would that have been at the start of the record then that you guys talked about that? That was a record like Peter was working.
Yeah, Peter worked on that record, and when we came to mix, that's when Kevin came in.
Yeah.
And you know, like you say, Kevin's very outspoken. He has he's the caveman. He has an idea of the way rock music should sound.
Yeah.
And, you know, with his South African accent, he would say, you know, what are you doing? Like, you guys, you're Rush. What are you doing with these dinky, stupid, direct sounds?
Alex is like, you know, can I have some reverb? I'm like, no reverb. You don't play reverb. And you don't play PRS. Those are coffee tables. That's not a guitar. Play a real guitar.
And we would get into conversations over maybe a couple of drinks. And they would get kind of heated and nothing bad, but
No.
we would express ourselves. But I really started thinking about that. And, you know, he had some good points. So we re-recorded a lot of guitar stuff with, you know, a pure sound, me in the room recording, for example, rather than sitting in the control room, which I'd gotten quite used to. And there's a great advantage in doing it that way. Communication is direct.
Yep.
I think it's a more efficient way.
It's easy to hear yourself in the control room.
Yeah.
And you can talk to the producer, you can talk to the engineer. It's easier to punch in and stuff like that.
Right. But when you're in the room and the amps are turned up to 1,000,000 and you're fairly close, there's something really special that happens. The guitar is just vibrating like crazy. The neck's vibrating. You're vibrating. Your teeth are vibrating. There's something that's so pure and complete in that. And I realized what he was getting at. That's what he wanted. He wanted that resonance. I record more like that now than I did in the past.
Really, you record in the room with the amp?
Yeah, if the opportunity is there. With the Envy of None stuff, no, I didn't. I recorded, you know, at the console because I'm there by myself.
Right. Do you like doing that? Do you like recording by yourself like that?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Again, nobody's there telling me what to do. If I don't like something, I schmeiss it. I erase it.
Yeah.
And start over. And sometimes it's better. Sometimes it's just the same. It's good to go through that exercise and have that freedom and that control.
There's that video of
You
you,
know
with
what? Look at so there's 3 things he's just said there, which I've taken. The first one, Alex is saying he loves to be in the room on his own, the control room. Basically, that's what I'm doing here. If I'm recording music, I'm in front of this screen and I've got my stuff here, and I'm recording it myself. It's my own control room, and then I cut it and slice it and do all that. I think I would. I guess it's because I don't do it, but I have been in all 3 of those predicaments. Being in the room, do you know, like you see in the films, you're through the glass, you're in that room through the glass, and you can hear the amps, you're in that, and no one else is in there, and you've just got your headphones on, and the engineer's in the other room touching the button going, right, Joe, you ready? You go, I'll be like, yes. And then I'll just keep doing it until because I feel like you can get in the zone when you have to keep putting the guitar down, cut in, no, don't like that, and then start again. To me, that throws me out the mood. So, but I understand what Alex is saying. When no one's there, you can just let yourself go. But I think a perfect environment with me would be engineer's there, no one else is in the room. So when I look through the glass, it's just the engineer. And I'll be like, mate, get yourself a brew. Could be here a while. You just keep pressing play and let me go at it. That would be more, I feel like I could get in the spirit there. It's interesting, isn't it? If you've done it yourself, guys, and you've been in this predicament, let me know, what do you prefer? The control room? Do you prefer being in the room itself? Or would you prefer being in your own space doing it? It's interesting.
your parents.
Right, yeah.
From, how old were you then?
I was
We need
17.
to watch this.
Like, I don't want to make a bunch of money. Like, if I make a lot of money, that's great. But I'm not gonna go to university and get a big degree. Hang on, no, I don't. I don't want to drive around in a big car and get people to go, hey, there goes Alex. He's loaded with money and wow, he's really set himself up great.
That's not what
That's what I need.
And why was that recorded? I mean, that's so fascinating.
Yeah. So Alan King was a Canadian filmmaker. His style of filmmaking was cinema verite, which is kind of like reality TV or reality programming now. So he would move in with a subject for, in one case, The Married Couple was one of his most famous films. He moved in with this family for a year and filmed. He had cameras set up, lights set up, everything, just all the time. And he chronicled their demise, and they ended up divorcing, and it
Probably because of that, right?
could be, but he captured all of this stuff that back in those days in the late 60s, that was really a novel approach.
Yeah.
So he wanted to make a movie about 10 kids from different parts of the city of Toronto moving into a farmhouse. An hour outside of Toronto, and just filming it for 10 weeks and seeing what sort of relationships develop, all of this stuff along those lines. So I auditioned for it, like 350 people auditioned for it, and I auditioned for it with two of my friends. The three of us got parts in it. So we represented that neighborhood that we were from. And we were paid $100 a week, and I'm 17, and I didn't have to go to school.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be tutored, but that didn't happen. So it was great. I just played guitar all day and got $100. It was amazing. It was like $1 million, isn't it?
Right.
So halfway through the filming of that film, and it was called Come On Children, halfway through the filming, we invited our parents up to see what we were doing. Well, Alan's production team invited the parents to see what we were doing. So all the parents were there when that was shot.
Okay.
We just happened to be sitting there. And Jane, who was sitting beside me, rocking beside me, it was a really close friend of mine. She was one of the three people when we auditioned together. And she knew my parents really, really well.
Okay.
And we were just having a conversation over lunch and it just, it's kind of developed into a conversation about going to school and wanting to be a musician and loving music, and why do I need to learn about geography?
But that was all real, right?
That was all real.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
and people ask me
amazing.
about it because it's on 16 millimeter film, and who films their dinner with their parents?
Right.
And this kind of quality.
Yeah.
But that was it. I just auditioned for this
That is
movie, got the
amazing.
part, and this was just our parents happened to be there. The other parents were in the rest of the house with their kids walking around and checking things out. The filmmakers that did our documentary came across that. It was never released for about 18 years when it was, I guess, purchased by the documentary channel or something. And I came across it just by chance once. I was totally freaked out. But
I mean, it really is so pertinent to what happened with the band then.
it's so perfectly teenage.
Right?
Yeah.
It is. Your
Yeah,
reaction
you can't tell
to
me
it.
what to do.
Yes.
I know better than you. I'm going to be a musician. I don't need money. I don't need a fancy car. So I think certainly lots of 17-year-olds related to it.
Yes.
And it was true. I loved playing guitar. That's all I wanted to do. I just loved playing guitar. I didn't think I was very good, and I don't think I was very good, but I tried hard and I wanted to get better, and I go inside of it. I don't know, it's corny to say that stuff, but it's not just a piece of wood with some metal strings on it. It's a being.
Geddy talked about when you guys made Caressive Steel, and that didn't go as well as the label had hoped, and he was talking kind of that your career was kind of taking off, and it wasn't until 2112 that it really was like, oh, okay, I think this is going to work.
Oh, yeah.
When did you know that this was going to really be a,
Yeah, my parents, my mom and Ged's mom were friends.
Mm-hmm.
They worried about us.
Yeah.
And they kind of had the same reactions at around the same time. It was when they saw us on TV. We were just doing an interview for a local TV station, and this was in the fall of '74. So we'd only just started kind of moving around. But they saw it and they went, oh my God, they're entertainers. That's what they are. They have a job. They have a job. That's okay. My parents wanted me to be like a dentist or an engineer, a profession that's where I could make a good living and all of that stuff. And I get it. They came from Yugoslavia after the Second World War. They came as refugees to Canada. Mm-hmm. They worked hard. My dad worked in the mines. We lived, all of us, both my parents, my grandparents, my uncles, we all lived in one house, and they struggled for a long, long time. So for them to know that their son or their children become something, and it's really, really, it was really, really important to them. There was around that time that they felt a little bit more at ease. Then we started playing local gigs, playing Maple Leaf Gardens and big shows, and we're now in their newspaper all the time, and so that, I
mean, it's funny though that just them seeing you on TV, even if it's on like a local show like that there's like, Oh, okay.
It's the TV.
It's the TV. They're on TV. Okay, I get this now.
Yeah, not everybody's on the TV.
Alex, then you go and you're one of the biggest bands of all time. I mean, the chances of this career that's gone for decades and decades, what does it feel like?
I know, crazy, huh? It's, I remember thinking, like, we'd already been a band for 6 years with John Rutsey, and we made the first record with him. So in a lot of ways, things were starting to look up. We were, a good local band. We had a good following. When we filled the clubs when we played them. So, the club owners liked us. So we had work every single week for every month of the year. When we got our record deal, it was for 5 records, and I thought if we could, and that was 2 records a year. By the way.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but I thought if we could just hang on for 5 years, that's a pretty good lifespan for a band. I didn't expect it to stretch 40 years and now 50 years.
Yeah.
Never. Like, we're one of the few in history.
That's right.
To have done that. And when you're that kid there then, just getting excited about opening for Uriah Heep in Pittsburgh in '74, you can never possibly imagine that this is the road that you're on. And you mentioned Crest of Steel. We were so excited about that record.
That album cover.
It was such an experiment for us.
Yeah.
And it was an indicator to where we could go and the potential that we had, and we were just shot down.
Did you feel pressure after that on 2112?
Well, yeah, totally.
It was like, oh man, we better come up with something.
Yeah. Couldn't you guys make another record like your first record, like good rock stuff? And yeah, we were heavily in debt. Our managers had spent so much money just keeping us on the road, and there was a lot of pressure. And it was either we go home and I go work for my dad as a plumbing assistant, and or we just say, screw everybody, we're just going to make the record that we want to make, and if it fails, then at least it's it's our thing. We did it, and that was 2112. So that was our protest record, 2112, and it didn't, it wasn't instantaneous. It took a year for that record.
A year of touring and being out there and promoting it.
What happened was people really locked onto it, and now. This happens to so many people. When you discover a band, you feel like that's your band.
Yeah.
I'm the only person that knows how great this band is. And that's kind of what happened, one gig at a time. And by the end of that year, the record had gone platinum. We were on a much better track. Now the gigs were starting to come in. We were headlining more.
Yep.
That opened up things for Farewell to Kings, and we felt emboldened, and never was a record company executive or management allowed in the studio from that point on. They were, oh yeah, we believed in you, all the way we believed in you. But that bought us our independence, and we were precious with that.
If you had to pick one record where you feel like the songs and the production really were married together perfectly, where the sound of the record and the songs, what record would that be?
Well, I'd probably say Moving Pictures, because that's exactly what that record is. That record was a joy to make. We had so much fun making it. It was a cold winter in Quebec when we made it. But there's something about the sound of that record and the style of writing. There's just a uniformity in it, and yet every song is different. It's just one of those things that really worked out. Permanent Waves is like that too.
Yeah.
It's kind of overlooked at times, but it has a particular character to it, and I really like the songs on that record. Moving Pictures, but it would definitely be the one.
Okay.
Because not all records are like that.
We need
Singles,
to hear it.
I think, had a great material on it, good songwriting.
Yep.
But I was never happy.
Subdivisions.
I was never happy with the production. I thought the original production just was not satisfying. And that, I think, was part of the reason that we wanted to explore other producers and working with other people. Grace Under Pressure, that's the one that I was thinking of. Grace Under Pressure was a very, very difficult record to make because we were working now with a different producer who was more of just an engineer. So the production fell upon us on that record, and it was a brutally cold winter in Quebec, and we were exhausted. It went on for months and months and months.
The intro to The Spirit of Radio, how'd you come up with that lick? And why is it that everybody plays it wrong? What is it about that lick?
I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things that's simpler than it sounds.
Okay, how do you play it,
Okay.
Alex?
So the components are, there's a little bit of delay.
You have a little delay, there's flange.
There's the flange, and then there's this. Can you hear
Yeah,
the artifacting?
yeah. Okay, what flanger would that have been back then?
Oh, electric misters, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the flanger.
Now that is one of the most quintessential,
I like that song.
recognizable licks, and it starts
Great
the
verse.
song.
Yeah.
I like the
Like
verse.
as soon as that came on the radio, it was like, whoa.
Yeah, we're talking about radio as an influence in music, particularly. But when I thought of radio waves, and what could I create that has that spark, that electrical kind of activity? So we created that with the flanger and the little artifacting thing. I forget.
Yeah.
I think we used some DDL line that's an Eventide or something, just to create that little sparking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of has that evocative feel to it.
What is the most fun song to play?
Well, radio's fun
Nice.
to play. Mm-hmm. It's got so many great parts.
Radio's a sick song. I've said this. The moment I heard Spirit Radio, go and check my reaction to it. I was like, this is the one. I have it on my song, Time Stand Still, Spirit Radio, absolute tunes. But the verse in Spirit Radio is their best verse, in my opinion. Like, the best to sing to, the catchiest, great hook, great verse, and especially the intro, like Alex is showing here.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like playing Limelight. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Witch Hunt is always a great song to play because it's very basic. It's just those chords. There's no real solo or anything in it, but it's so heavy and scary.
I asked Getty about this, but when you guys were coming up with the set, with the songs to play for the tour, I mean, I said to him, I made up my list of songs that you really kind of have to play, and there's like 18 of them or something. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Is that kind of, you start out your list, you're like, well, we kind of have to play these.
Yeah, this time around, we sort of did do that.
Yeah.
He may have told you that in the past, we've been, we would prep songs that we recorded for
That's
the
right,
new
for the
record.
whatever
so
the
we
latest
never
record
played
was.
them live.
Yeah.
So we needed to work on those arrangements and get comfortable with that. I think with this tour, just the nature of this tour, it's a celebration of all that music.
Yeah.
So we started with those songs that are to be expected. And then it was free fall after that. Songs that we just wanted to play, that we hadn't played in a while, that we wanted to surprise people. The fact that we have about 38 or 39 songs now, I think in a given night there are, I think about 20 songs, 22 songs. So that means we can, like when we're playing these cities where we're doing 4 nights or even 2 nights, we can mix it up so that it's not
That's
the same
so
set,
cool.
repeated, which is really great because then it makes it special, if you come to more than one show, there's the benefit of hearing other stuff.
Are you guys playing any places that that you have never played before?
Krakow, Poland, that's a first.
Wow.
And in Brazil, Brasilia, there's another city in Brazil, I can't recall the name of it. So those are new gigs for us there. Basel, instead of
Switzerland.
Zurich. Yeah, we were going to do Zurich, but it's Basel now. So we haven't been there before. But I think that's about it. Yeah.
Alex, this is amazing. I really appreciate you spending the time with me today, and it's so great to meet you.
Oh, same here. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
I'm really looking forward to coming out and seeing you guys play.
Yeah. Oh, good. You'll have to let us know how we did.
It's going to be great.
That'll be great.
Cool.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Well, that was sick. I thoroughly enjoyed that. It's also nice because Alex is a guitar player, so although I loved the Geddy interview as well, I like hearing what a guitarist has to say and his point of view on the album, so it was nice to watch that. I also didn't really want to watch it straight away because when it first came out, these interviews, I'm still very new. I'm on the tip of the iceberg of Rush. I know a lot of the songs they were mentioning there, and that was premeditated. I wanted to kind of wait and get to know them a bit more before I do it, because if they're just talking about songs I don't know, then it's not as fulfilling for me. I will go back one day by myself and watch the Geddy one again, but I think we will watch the drummer one now in the next couple weeks or whatnot, and see how she's taken to being in Rush and how difficult it was for her to learn the songs. That will be interesting. What do you guys reckon of these types of videos? As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm thinking of doing, I'm definitely going to, I love reacting to songs, but I also like reviewing things and giving my opinion on the way, new things that are going on in the music world. So I'm definitely going to change it up as well as react on this channel. So if you're interested in that, subscribe. There's plenty more where this came from. Music is life, in my opinion. I absolutely love it. And yeah, I'm going to be very expressive about that on this channel. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you have enjoyed this, guys. There's plenty more Rush where this came from. So if you're a Rush fan, go and check out the playlists of all the reactions I've already done. I will leave it pinned in the comments below. And thank you to one of our subscribers for actually donating to the channel as well. You know who you are, legend. Thank you very much for this video. Peace!